So semis are more popular than a detached in
Semi
terms of
yeah.
in terms of even the investment
Well,
returns.
you look at population, right? You look at the population of London, and you kind of put them in a demographic, and you say, okay, a lot of people can afford the $1,100 to $1,300 range. What can I rent? What can I buy to rent to this population?
How
And
about
it's usually,
townhouses?
yeah, townhouses too. The only thing with townhouses you got to be careful is the condo fee.
Sometimes it can be very high. That's what you
Some of
mean?
the townhouses in the city, yeah, the condo fees are astronomical. It's I don't know how they justify it. But
If
then
I
there's townhouses that are like they charge a common fee, which is better for investor, not so great for an owner. What a common fee is, it's like usually a low fee, and they take care of your snow and grass. And that's what a landlord wants. But then
yeah.
you have these condos that are charging like $450 a month for condo fees, and they're supposed to do the roof and window and doors every so often. But
Do you call those that you have common fee freeholds?
they're is that what they call them?
That's what we have. That's what in Toronto they are called.
The freehold buildings.
No, it's called freehold condo with a common element. So they would have a smaller maintenance fee, would be like you said, for snow and grass removal.
We call them freehold buildings. So what a freehold building is it's a common element, and all they do is they grass and cut. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
They still have the same structure. They still have like a board, and if you wanted to do like a canopy in your backyard, you have to go through the board. Like they try
Yes,
to
yes,
keep
yes.
it. They try to keep it consistent without getting too sloppy. And they just say, "Hey guys, we're just going to do snow and grass. It's up to you to if your neighbor wants to get a brown door."
Yes,
Then
you're more free to do what you want to do with your part.
but consistently throughout. So you would still have to go to the board and say, I'm changing my windows. They would assess and say, well, they don't need to be changed. If you do want to change them, they have to be this specification,
I
this
see.
color. You can't have like one unit, one white aluminum, and then the other one has brown aluminum. For
I see.
instance. So somebody wants different aluminum. They would still say, just to keep it all nice and consistent, because you may live there for 5 years and sell it, and then you have a funny looking unit that
Absolutely.
the condo board has to deal with, and it takes away from. So yeah, those ones are popular, but they're not very common in London. There's not very many common element. They usually have condo boards, and they want to collect money, and they want to collect the reserve, and they want to do.
Would you, if I have a buyer who wants to buy a townhouse, I can call you and ask you if you know how what the standing of the building. You would be able to
We do
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, like we have one owner right now. He's got, I think 7 units in the same complex, 493rd Street. His condo fees are really good. It's $220 a month.
Is he planning to sell?
No, he's buying more.
He's buying more because I
Yeah.
have somebody who's looking for a townhouse as well.
Is that right? Yeah.
In
He's
the
always
London
buying more. He's from Toronto. So he's looking
Tell me more now about your company.
My company is expanding actually. We got more business now. We just took on an apartment building.
Okay.
Which is 40 units, so we're going to do a lot of structuring in the back, specifically administrative staff. So that's an important thing. It's a time of the year where we're really busy with renting as well. So we're
Do you do both family rentals and student rentals?
Student rentals now are not very popular. We were doing those back in January, but now it's mainly single families. So a lot of the inquiries now are people coming in and they want to settle somewhere. They want to be out of their apartment. They want to be out of the townhouse, and they want to rent a house, backyard. They want to do the whole.
How do you see people renting with swimming pools? Would you say that this is a not the best form of investing, having a house with a swimming pool?
It depends. Like we had one property that was northwest that was very high end. The rent was like almost $2,500 a month. So we rented it with swimming pool. That's what attracted them to rent it for such a high amount, $2,500 for a single family home. It's very high, right? But it had swimming pool. So we had them sign disclosure that they'll get their own insurance. They have to pay for pool maintenance via pool contract. I think it's like $100 a week. They have to pay that over and above their lease.
I see.
So it becomes, if you're going to rent with swimming pool, it's a little more difficult because you got to put it on the tenant to maintain it. If the tenant doesn't maintain it long term, you're going to lose because they're going to neglect the pool. So we try to stay away from properties with pool because there's liability, there's maintenance. But if it's a high-end rental, like the one we just did,
Yeah.
then you've got that. You've got that. You can say, you know what, it's going to be an extra $100 a week. We're going to have Pioneer Family Pool. They're going to come and clean it, check it. It's a property maintenance contract that you got to pay. You get them to pay it, and usually if they're paying $2,500 a month, they're fine. They're like, yeah, it's a pool. We need to get somebody in anyways. And if you have the contact, let's do it. But even lower rentals where they have them, they're not going to pay, and they're not going to clean them, and they're not going to maintain them. And then it might be a big liability for the owner. They might neglect it, and then it
So tell me a little bit about your fees, your charges, and what it includes, what you do for your clients.
Yeah, our fees are structured around what services are offered. We have a couple different packages. The most popular package is for like the overseas out-of-town investor, where they want to be hands-off. They want to just ask us to help assist them to buy a property, potentially an investment property where they can rent to families or multi-families. So we would help them find something that they can rent. We would approve it. We would say, yes, this is something that we can manage. This is something that we can rent. We would advise you to buy the property. Once we've advised our clients to buy the property, then we can assist them in packages where we can offer them. So do you want full service? Do you want us to take care of the snow and grass? Do you want us to do inspections? We want to be we try to feel it with the client and just ask them how hands-on we want to be. We have a lot of investors like, you know what, I can do my own inspections. I just want you to collect the rent and just work with the communication with the tenant. Do the 24 hours. Make sure they're able to contact you 24 hours, have that open communication with them.
So in your services, you do offer 24 hours emergency line for the tenants so they can call you. Definitely you have the communication between yourself and the landlord. Do you have some kind of a budget that you keep so if anything happens, you know that you can cover, right?
We do, yeah. We have reserve accounts where we have reserves that we set aside for emergency purposes, so we can use that. And that's another part of our service. If we can't get a hold of an owner, then we have the money to take care of that problem right away. And it could be anything. In the middle of winter, if the furnace broke down and we needed like an expensive part and it needed to be done that night because it's freezing weather, then we have that financial that we can dip in. So.
And what are your fees roughly?
Our fees are structured again on what we
On the package, yeah.
offer, but it ranges from 6% up to 7.5%, which would be our full service package where the owner wants to be hands off and they just want to have us manage the property as their own.
If you need to rent the property, what would that be?
Well, renting is usually 75% of 1 month's commission. So if we rent the place for $1,000 a month, then we would charge a $750 commission, which would go to the leasing agent that's working on the property to show it, to do all the screening on the tenants, to do all the background checks on the tenants, to do the credit checks, to verify that the tenant is appropriate for the property. That's what mainly the finder's fees goes towards. So it is a big amount, but considering how much legwork we do to show the property to many tenants and weed out the good ones and the bad ones, I think it's well worth it.
Yeah,
especially if we're doing our due diligence and doing all the credit checks and all the background checks. It's usually money well spent.
So you would typically collect the rents and then collect your fees from that check and then forward the payment to the landlord, to the owner.
If the owner decides to work with us and choose that package, we can do that. We have other owners that would like to be reimbursed directly, which we do. But our most common is we collect the rent, we allow it to clear the account, we make sure there's no NSF charges, it doesn't bounce. If it does, then we go after the tenant, and then it keeps the owner hands off and allows us to chase the tenant.
So if there are skipped payments, how soon do you take the action?
Usually our bank notifies us within 24 hours. It's usually no more than 24 hours. They contact us and say there's a bounce check. Here's the check, here's the amount, here's the person, and then we just contact the tenant and just notify them. And at that point, we either get an excuse that they didn't have the money, or B, that they didn't have the right account at the right time. So it's usually one of the two things. And then they usually come in, we'll ask them to bring a cash payment this time, so we don't have a second NSF, because it doesn't look good. And then we usually charge them like an administration fee as well, so.
And if they
that's-
don't bring the funds, then you start the collection
Well, at that
process.
point, we wouldn't be
No.
negotiating with them to see what their situation is, like, are they in distress? We try to negotiate it so we don't have to evict them, we try to negotiate with them. If we find that they're unnegotiable and they don't wanna cooperate, then it just tells us that they're just trying to, take advantage of the landlord as long as they can before they get evicted, and then.
Do you have a high percentage of the people that try to skip payments?
Usually, there's a vacancy rate of a vacancy. I think the standard rate is usually 2%. So I would say 2% of our portfolio
Accounts,
is involved in that. So, and it's usually more or less, if you didn't do your due diligences in the start and didn't do the proper record and proper credit and the proper reference checks, then you fall in that category. And a lot of time we inherit, like we'll have clients come to us from a different company and we'll inherit the file. And unfortunately, by the time we inherit it, it's already in arrears and there's problems. And we always go back to the owner and say, who were you dealing with? Like this is like, we go through the paperwork and say, this is not proper, this wasn't done properly. And all these things kind of add up and say, someone didn't do due diligence in the start, and this is what the consequences are.
Yeah.
At that point.
Ellie, and how long does it take to rent a property? Usually, and I know that it's plus minus.
Yeah. We have a guarantee if you work with us and you allow us to market the property the way Brodylan White would suggest, then our guarantee is usually 30 days.
Within a month, you're saying?
Yeah, usually within a month. If the owner wants to put it a little bit higher and they want to try their luck, it may be you're at a higher risk that you may skip into the second month. So you might be looking at 2 months. So we balance it. We tell them, listen, we can rent it for this month. We'll have a lot of inquiries. If you want any more money, you're going to have a little bit more competition out there. You'll just have to show it more, and it may sit vacant for an additional month. Is it really worth it? And if you do the math over a course of 12 months with a 1 month vacancy, it makes a lot more sense just to rent it at a reasonable rate. What market is renting for, kind of look at the comparables, rent it what the comparables are at, and what the market is, and then you're always ahead of the game. And there's always rent increases, right? So next year you can increase the rent by 2%, which would offset the cost of what you were looking for the year before.
Where people usually are employed in London, what drives the economy here?
It's all retail here.
Retail mostly?
90% of our business here is absolute retail. I always look, if we get an application, and if they're working for a retail, like 3M, hospital, if they're working part of a retail service company, then it's usually good because I know they're going to have a standing job, they've got the experience, and they're going to be renting, and they're not going to lose their job. You do get people that lose their job, but because they're in retail service company, they can very well pick up and start a new company like tomorrow because they've got the experience. So we try to stay away from the people that are starting new businesses, that are looking to borrow money to start a new business. There's usually a red flag. There's usually categories where it red flags us. For instance, if somebody's self-employed, they're just starting their new business and they're living off loans, and all their rent is coming out of loans. What if that loan runs out and they can't pay us, and their self-employment is not doing very well? Then we're going to be the first ones to not get any money.
Thank you so much, Ali.
Yeah.
Thank you.